It is Sunday, June 15th. I'm Kent Garrett. Welcome to a special edition of The Last Negroes at Harvard.
Live now to Tel Aviv, where Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst has been up all night, is standing by with all the details. Trey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Laura, following that Israeli attack against Iranian nuclear facilities and top IRGC leadership overnight and into today, the Iranians have responded with 3 waves of ballistic missiles. This is Israel's version of the Pentagon, the Kiryat. And the building on this compound was just hit.
Please go back, please, go back, please.
You can understand here, it's very tense at this specific location because the Iranians are now targeting the defense establishment of Israel.
Take a listen to this eye-opening video from Piers Morgan. He dives deep into one of the most controversial and silent moments in recent history. He reports on what happened a few nights ago when Iran humiliated Israel with a stunning display of power, and the global response was absolute silence.
In a time filled with fake promises, one night changed how the world saw everything. Israel, known as the so-called unbeatable force, watched as its skies were broken by Iranian missiles. And with those blasts, the silence that had covered the Muslim world for so many years was broken. This was more than just an attack. It was a loud message. A message full of strength, honor, and awareness. This video is not just another update. It's a truth they never wanted you to hear. The truth the media hides, the truth division tried to bury. This isn't only about Iran and Israel. This is about the whole Muslim Ummah. It's the cry of suffering from Gaza, from Palestine, from Syria, Kashmir, Burma, every place where blood was spilled and voices were shut down. And now one country stood up, not for fame, but for purpose. In this video, you'll hear what many fear, see what the media avoids, and understand what could bring a broken nation back together. So don't turn away, watch till the end. Every second, every sentence is a key to something bigger, something that could open your eyes forever. This isn't just truth, it's a harsh reality that could change everything. For many years, Israel created an image of being unbeatable. With the latest technology, full American support, and a sharp intelligence network, it showed the world a picture of a stronghold no one could ever break. Its Iron Dome was not just protection, it was a sign of power, a badge of pride. Israel made itself the boss of the region, warning any enemy not to try anything. But then, one night, that image was shaken badly. The belief in its endless power was broken, not by huge numbers, but by accurate action. Iran didn't need to destroy everything. It just had to hit the right place at the right time with the right message. And that's what happened. That night, the world saw missiles break through layer after layer of defense, not randomly, but with scary precision. The strikes didn't only damage physical buildings, they crushed the belief that Israel was always far ahead. For the first time in many years, sirens in Israeli cities weren't just part of drills. The fear became real. The Iron Dome, the pride of Israeli defense, failed. The same system, shown to the world as unbreakable, showed that it wasn't perfect. Just a few hits were enough to make the world question what they were told about Israel's power. The feeling of superiority began to disappear, replaced by shock, silence, and confusion. This wasn't about maps or borders, it was about mental power. Israel used its image to keep others in fear. It didn't always need to fight. It only had to make people believe they had no chance. That belief is what got destroyed. Iran didn't just launch weapons, it launched courage. It challenged the idea that Israel could act however it wanted with no reaction, no limits. Iran didn't do this through angry speeches. It used smart and planned retaliation, the kind of answer that makes even the most powerful stop and think. To some people, this was just a fight between armies. But to those watching with careful eyes, it was a turning point. A moment when things shifted, when David stood up to Goliath, not with rocks, but with courage and timing. Israel's image got hurt. And that injury brought with it something even deeper: doubt. Doubt in the minds of those who always supported it. Doubt in the West's power circles. Doubt in the hearts of those who once thought fighting back was useless, because once the untouchable gets touched, the entire game changes. This is what pride looks like when it's faced with reality. This is what happens when arrogance is answered with strategy. Iran didn't destroy Israel that night, but it did something far more dangerous. It exposed the lie. It showed the world that even the strong can be hurt. And that gave hope to every nation, every group, every soul that had been silent under the weight of fake power. That night became like a mirror, and in it the world didn't see Israel's greatness, it saw its limits. When Iran fired those missiles, it wasn't just a war move, it was a strong message written in the language of power. Each missile, each target, every second, it was all done with meaning. This wasn't madness, it was message. Iran wasn't acting out of wild anger. It was saying something important, that independence, respect, and fairness are not up for discussion. That when red lines are crossed, staying quiet is not the only option. That the oppressed also have a voice, and sometimes that voice sounds like thunder. For years, Iran has faced punishments, warnings, and lies from the media, but this moment wasn't about payback. It was about standing tall again. Iran's attack wasn't about flexing its muscles. It was about declaring, we see what's happening, and we are not afraid anymore. This wasn't war just for war's sake. It was self-defense mixed with bravery. Iran understood the dangers. It knew what could happen next. But even then, it chose to rise. Because sometimes in history, bravery matters more than careful planning. Some moments demand that a country hold its ground, even when the whole world is looking away. Iran didn't do this for claps or cheers. It did it to raise awareness. It wanted to shake the world out of its fake silence, to make people feel the truth that's been buried under politics and media stories. Iran's message was also directed toward the Muslim world. It was a call to wake up, a shake to the hearts of nations that stayed quiet. It wasn't just a missile strike. It was a reminder that fighting back is not only possible, it's needed. That justice doesn't ask politely, it demands what's right. Injustice has gone on for too long, dressed up in fake words like peace and diplomacy, while children die and homes become dust. Iran's message was loud and simple. The days of only one side suffering are over. The story no longer belongs to the powerful, it now belongs to those brave enough to take a stand, even when standing comes with danger. To the West, Iran's message was even sharper. It said, we hear your threats, but we don't fear them. It said, you can block us with money, but you cannot break our will. The attack didn't just reveal weak points in defense systems, it also revealed weak points in morals. It made Western powers question themselves. It made them wonder if they are still in control. It reminded them that while they were busy creating stories to tell the world, others were quietly building bravery. This moment wasn't just about Iran, it was about every cry that went unheard. Every grave without a name, every mother who lost her child to bombs painted as justice. Iran spoke up for all of them. And by doing so, it rewrote the rules, not just of war, but of truth. Because sometimes the strongest message is the one that doesn't need words, just silence that breaks through all the lies. The night Iran fired its missiles at Israeli targets, something even louder than the blasts echoed around the world. Silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, nervous, confused kind. The kind of silence that shows people are too scared to say what's true. When the news came out, there weren't emergency meetings by Western leaders, there were no hashtags, no worldwide messages of support, no loud voices talking about freedom and democracy. The media stepped carefully, the politicians paused, the powerful stayed quiet, and in that quietness, something huge was shown. The world was not ready for this. The truth is, they never thought Iran would act like this and actually pull it off. For years, the story was simple. Israel was in control, always protected, always ahead. Iran was painted as the dangerous outsider, isolated, unstable, always under pressure. But that night flipped the story. Iran struck with purpose, and the old reactions didn't work. There was no quick group of allies joining in protest, no easy way to defend Israel with the same tired phrases. Instead, there was shock, and that shock said a lot. The West didn't know what to do, because a strong Iran and a shaky Israel was never supposed to happen. This silence wasn't weakness, it was exposure. It showed how deep the lies go. The same governments who cry loudly when their friends are in danger had nothing to say now. The same people who demand fairness when a Western country is hurt suddenly chose silence and delay. But the people watching, Muslims, the poor, the unhurt, they saw everything. They saw the double standards clearly. When Gaza is bombed, excuses are made, but when the other side strikes back, there is silence. That silence doesn't hide the truth, it makes it louder. It shows who really believes in fairness and who only acts like they do when it suits them. That silence was also fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of saying something that might light a fire they can't put out. Fear that if Iran can strike, others might try too. Fear that the power balance they built might be breaking. That fear froze them, and in that frozen moment, Iran didn't just hit Israel, it hit the system that protects it. That silence, that was the sound of a story falling apart. It was the moment when the mask came off, and the world saw that even the loudest voices can be silenced by reality. A void was left, and every nation ignored it, punished simply for trying to protect its dignity. That silence became the clearest form of justice. The West couldn't brush off this moment. They couldn't bury it with news stories or cover it up with other issues. They had to face it. And in doing so, they showed how uneasy they were with a truth they could no longer hide. Because silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's accepting a truth they never wanted to confront. When Iran struck, it didn't just shake Tel Aviv. It sent shockwaves across the Arab world. It rattled every quiet capital, every comfortable ruler, every nation that had made peace with the same spirit that had once broken the silence. For years, injustice went unchecked. Many Arab governments chose deals over resistance, silence over standing together, and agreements over honor. They saw Gaza burn, saw children buried in ruins, watched history being rewritten by the West, and they said nothing. Some even clapped for Israel behind closed doors, thinking that supporting the powerful might protect them. But when Iran fired those missiles, the silence around the world suddenly grew heavier. That silence became a mirror, showing the betrayal felt deeply by the Muslim people. Iran's action wasn't just against Israel. It was a direct challenge to the Arab governments that had turned away while Palestine cried. It exposed the fear of those who claimed to lead in the name of Islam, yet remained quiet while injustice raged on. It revealed that while towers were being built and treaties signed, the soul of the Muslim nation was crying not for deals, but for fairness. Iran didn't only use weapons, it used belief, and that belief embarrassed those who had long given up. The Arab streets didn't explode in anger against Iran, they filled with respect. the people remembered what pride looks like, what it feels like to defend dignity, to say no to oppression, even if it means standing alone. That night, millions of Arabs witnessed something their leaders haven't shown in a long time: real bravery. Not the kind that waits for permission from the West, but the kind that speaks up when others stay quiet, the kind that doesn't hide when it sees wrong, but stands up to it. And that's why Arab leaders didn't respond loudly. Their reactions were quiet, cautious, uncomfortable, because Iran did what they never had the courage to do. It stood up to the global system. It faced a nuclear-backed power. It shattered the myth that Israel couldn't be touched. And by doing that, it made every quiet leader look smaller, weaker. It uncovered what was hidden. The strike didn't ask for approval. It didn't follow diplomatic rules. It acted. And that action brought back a feeling many thought was lost, a feeling of unity, strength, and resistance. Iran reminded the Arab world that the fight for justice isn't over, and those who gave up on it are being left behind. The youth in the streets saw it, scholars in exile saw it, refugees in camps saw it, and now even the silent rulers have to see it. This wasn't just war, it was truth made visible. Truth that broke through oil contracts and fake smiles at summits. Truth that no government can hide forever, because no matter how many walls they put up or deals they sign, they can't stop the younger generation from seeing clearly, from realizing who really stands for justice in Palestine and who only stands for their own power. After Iran's missile strike, something unexpected happened, not on the battlefield, but on millions of TV screens. Western media, which usually reacts fast and loudly to anything that challenges their narrative, slowed down. The headlines didn't scream terrorism like they usually do. Talk shows didn't rush to criticize Iran like before. For a moment, there was silence, confusion. The media machine didn't know how to spin it fast enough. At that moment, broke something bigger. It broke the illusion that they still controlled the story. The West has long had the power to twist the truth, to hide facts, to change the way people see events. But now, that power is slipping, and for the first time in a long time, the world started asking, what if Iran isn't the villain they say it is? This didn't mean Iran was suddenly seen as a hero. It meant the facts were too strong to ignore. The precision of the strike, Iran's calm statements, and Israel's obvious weakness all made the usual lies harder to sell. It wasn't wild violence, it was smart and careful. It wasn't chaos, it was controlled resistance. The videos, the numbers, the pictures, they told a story too clear to hide, and when media couldn't twist it fast enough, they went quiet, or tried to avoid it, or showed their bias more clearly than ever. But the world noticed, people noticed, in Europe, in America, in the East and the West. They saw past the noise. This wasn't just about one moment. It was the result of years of growing doubt in the mainstream media. From Iraq to Syria to Palestine, people have seen the truth get buried and lies rise up instead. But now, with social media, independent voices and reporters on the ground, the monopoly is ending. And this missile strike, it pushed that crack even wider. People began to ask deeper questions. If they lie about this, what else are they lying about? Why are Muslim deaths treated like statistics? Why is resistance called terrorism only when it comes from Muslims? Iran didn't just attack a target, it attacked the credibility of an entire system built on controlling what people think. And in that system, the real power lies in controlling how people feel and react. So when media loses that power, when people no longer believe everything they're told, that's when truth starts to rise. That's why the silence from Western outlets was dangerous to them, because in that silence people had time to think, to hear new voices, to see other sides, and most importantly, to feel a truth that had been buried for decades. Iran's action didn't just fire missiles. It fired a direct hit at the story that's been told for years. And for Muslims, it meant even more. It showed how unfair justice has become. It reminded them that the truth doesn't need approval, it only needs bravery to be spoken and clarity to be seen. And whether the world admitted it or not, they saw it. When Iran launched those missiles, it wasn't just a military move. It reignited something deep inside the Muslim world, a fire that had almost gone out. For years, the Muslim community has been broken apart by borders, weakened by politics, and poisoned by labels like Sunni versus Shia, Arab versus Persian, conservative versus liberal. These were divisions created and encouraged by outsiders to keep Muslims split. But when Iran hit back, something powerful happened. From Morocco to Malaysia, from Cairo to Karachi, Muslims looked past those differences. Social media was filled with support. Streets were filled with chants, not praising Iran, but lifting Muslim pride. It felt like the whole community remembered who they are. Not dead, just sleeping. Not defeated, just wounded. This wasn't about loving war or seeking revenge. It was about longing for dignity. For decades, Muslims have watched their people get crushed in Palestine, silenced in Kashmir, kicked out of Syria, locked away in China, and insulted by Western media, while their own leaders stayed silent. But on this night, when everyone expected Iran to keep quiet, it spoke. And in doing so, it spoke for millions who couldn't. Whether people agreed politically or not, the message was clear. You are not forgotten, you are not helpless, you are not alone. What came next wasn't a political alliance, but a feeling shared across borders. The old religious and ethnic divide started to seem small. People didn't care who was Sunni or Shia. They saw a Muslim country standing against years of abuse, against unfair treatment, against stolen land. And in a world that keeps telling Muslims they're too broken to unite, this moment proved that's not true. It showed that when injustice goes too far, the core of Islam still beats stronger than any label or border. The impact of this shift is deep. It spoke to Muslim youth who've grown up watching their countries bombed and their voices ignored. It told them the Muslim community is not dead, that bravery still exists. That strength isn't always in suits or palaces. Sometimes it comes from standing up when others stay silent. Iran's strike helped people remember that a united Muslim world is powerful and a divided one is weak. It reminded everyone that there's something even more dangerous than a weapon, and that's people waking up. Because when hearts come together, when purpose returns, when Muslims stop seeing each other as strangers and start seeing each other as family, the world changes. Iran's actions weren't just about Israel. They were about waking up the soul of a people with no borders. And the world is now seeing that awakening again. What we're watching isn't just the collapse of fake stories, it's the rise of something clearer. Iran's response to Israeli aggression wasn't just about war. It was a bold statement to a world that's been blind and quiet. It didn't just reveal weak defense systems, it revealed weak lies. It reminded silent rulers that history never honors cowards. It honors those who stood tall when the world expected them to bow. And most of all, it lit a flame inside the heart of every Muslim. A flame of honor, a flame of togetherness, A flame the oppressors thought they'd put out a long time ago, but now that flame burns brighter than ever. This moment, this awakening, is proof that no matter how dark the night becomes, truth can't stay hidden forever. Iran may have pulled the trigger, but what echoed around the world was the voice of millions, Muslims, the oppressed and seekers of truth, rising together with one message. Enough is enough. And that message has only just started to shake the world. Thank you for standing with truth, for looking beyond the headlines, and for keeping your heart tied to justice. This isn't just a video, it's a wake-up call. A call to rise, to speak, and to act. May Allah guide us toward courage, wisdom, and unity. Stay strong, and always remember, when the world doubts you, stand firm, because the truth always finds its way.
Take a listen to Piers Morgan and his words of wisdom. It is a wake-up call for anyone who wants to stay informed about world politics and justice.